Good rising, my fellow I am, and welcome to another sunny Sunday of our One Great I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and with me is my partner in spirit and in mind, Sir T. Say grand rising to our fellow Eternals.
Yes, sir, it is. Yeah, man, it is. Good morning to everybody. Grand rising, Yes, another Sunday morning. First day of the week, first day of a month.
September 1st.
Yeah. A whole heap of first going on here, So let's make it a first in your consciousness as well. First time at a higher level of consciousness, higher level of awareness, self-awareness. And just continue to become from there. So, Chris, this morning we discussing what is it the Egyptians or the Israelites?
We're talking about the Israelites. Today we're going to be talking about the entrance / exodus of the Egyptians. I mean, of the Israelites from Egypt.
From Egypt. Oh, okay.
Of the Israelites from Egypt. Was it, were the Israelites really in Egypt in the first place? And so that is the question that we're going to address. Were they really in Egypt? Did they really enter Egypt and also exited, hence the word exodus, from Egypt by way of a miraculous parting of the Red Sea? Till this day, they're still having trouble with that, identifying which sea they matter about, Red Sea, Reed Sea, and all these different, interpretations and research and what have you. So, but that's what we're going to discuss, the validity of the story of the Israelites, are the modern day Israelis. I don't know how them name changed from Israelites to Israelis. I'm not sure what is the difference, correlation, why that even took place in the first place. But there's a country named Israel and one named Egypt.
And they make these changes as the more them realize that the truth is being exposed. People are starting to see the thing for, how far it is, then them start to make little alterations to it. When a man tell you a lie and him realize he catch up on the lie, him start to give you a different variation of it. Still not go admit that the whole thing is a lie now. Start give you a different variation of the story. Yeah. You listen when time invest when police are question a suspect and the suspect is guilty. When him walking at the door of the police station, him already guilty. Him know him guilty. The police them know him guilty too. And them ask him. And him give them a version of the story. And when them say no, but he also don't match up, him give them another version of the same story. That's what's happening here. Them keep moving the goalposts because them realize that mankind is becoming more aware of this thing for what it is. So to keep it going. Because that's the main intention of religion, The main intention of religion is to keep religion alive by whatever means necessary. Yeah. They have to keep people believing this thing. So them come with different variations of it to get people to believe it. That's all it is. That's all that's happening, right?
Well, we are going to move on to the goalpost now.
Yes, put it back where and make it stay there. Because remember, we create a goalpost and you create your goal and your goalpost. So when we start figuring out, nobody comes start move, put it right back where it belongs.
So we're going to move it back. Hopefully, we can get some clarity as to the place it is, supposed to be and should always be and everything. So we're just going to, try to, condense this story as much as we can and give some meaning to it. And basically that's what we're here to do, give it meaning, not a historical fact. We're here to give the story meaning, but not make it factual, if that makes sense.
And to be honest, Sir Chris, I don't think the people who came up with this method of telling this story, I don't think it was ever meant for anybody to take it to be a fact. And we don't want to be over here bashing the people who write this piece of literature. You know, it's a dramatization, and they are to be applauded because they are very smart, brilliant. For this guy is the story, you know, as a happening. It's just creative writing, you know. This guy's story as a happening when it really is not so, and
like a book, a modern day book we read.
Correct. You know, so we have to give it to the guys who are able to figure out consciousness to a level where they can bring it to a relatable happening and present it as such. Pity on the man them who take it to be literal without realizing that the very writer, the very storyteller himself never intend for you to take it literal. He's trying to tell you something via the story. That's why it's called a parable, an allegory. It's a story that's telling you a different story. You know, so if we, you know, have to come here on our circus and bring the second story to the surface so that people can dispel this first story.
Ever said something which was very profound in book we got the 5 lessons from Mark and Charmin that says when we read the Bible, we have to digest it the way our bodies digest our food.
Correct.
We eat the food, all of it, not some of it. We eat what is good for your body and what is not. But the body itself has this mechanism within it that is so intelligent that it separates the good from the bad. You understand? And assimilate the good, it absorbs the good and it get rid of the bad. It takes from the top story, which is the food, the literal food, you see it, the body recognizes it, and disassemble it in some way or some manner and take from it all of its nutrients, all of its substance, and discard what was somewhat original or apparent. You know, the top story, the top part of it was discarded and turned into trash or turned into garbage, waste. And it passes through your system every day. Whether it be water, if you drink juice, the body separate the juice and send that to your kidneys and keep the water. It's an all it is we don't need.
The wheat and the tears have to grow together until the day of harvest, man. And the good thing about this is you decide when is your harvest day. Your harvest day is the day when you decide to sift out the wheat and the tears and separate them and digest it as it is meant to be. But until that day of harvest, the wheat and the tears have to go together.
Go together.
You know, Reverend Ike said it best. It tell you that Reverend Ike say it tell you that someday in glory you will reap the rewards of whatever. Now it never tell you which day, it tell you someday. So you will decide which day. And I choose this day. So you decide which day.
Yeah. In history.
Yeah, man, you decide which day you are gonna reap the rewards of everything that you're there believing for. You know, everything that you're there believing for, I believe in that, you know, your faith will bring you one day. Why not make that day this day? The only day that is truly of any relevance is today. Today. You can't fix nothing about yesterday. And you can't win tomorrow's victory today. You tomorrow have to wait until tomorrow. And yesterday gone from yesterday. So it's really today, it's really now is the only thing that you're dealing with. And I mean, it's really a practical exercise. Like I said, in religion, everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Well, what we are talking about here is a practical thing that we invite you to do it, not try, do it.
Come on, nothing supernatural.
Nothing is supernatural about what we are talking
about. Something that you can do for yourself, by yourself. and you know, we'll see results. You know,
it is so supernatural that everybody can do it. Not only can everybody do it, everybody has been doing it, will always do it, and you cannot help but do it. Whether you're bringing forward the results you desire or the results you don't desire, no, that part is up to you. But you're always bringing results, and you are bringing the results. And you can't help but bring the results. As long as you are alive, you're operating this law. You don't have no other law for it.
Result is still a result.
It's still a result, and the result is still a result, and the result giver, the teacher where grade you and I give you the result, does not care. Because the teacher is only giving you what you're due. You're earning what you earn. Hold on 1 second here, guys.
Come on, I see we have several of us here. You know, welcome, guys. Appreciate you guys making the time, the effort to be here. As many Sundays as possible. I'm sure we'll be having some more who will join us in the interim. But want to give you guys, you know, your credit for making the effort to be here every Sunday as possible. And we really commend that and appreciate that, you know. And you know, we're also live streaming on YouTube, so we will also be having some viewers either on the live or in the recording later on, you know. So we're getting the word out there here on the One Great I Am Awakening, waking up, you know, people one by one, one at a time, you know, as says in Scripture. All will be saved, but only a remnant at a time, you know. 100,000 people cannot go through one door at once, but one by one, they'll all fit inside the stadium, and them can't exit at the same time either. Everybody exit one by one, but everybody will exit. It is not physically possible to do it all at once, either going or coming. You understand? So, as Sir T just mentioned, it's a practical exercise, and it's not really science fiction. Whatever I say, rocket science. You know, this is something that we have been doing, will continue to do, and what we're trying to do here is to make you become aware of what we've all been doing, thus making the doing more pleasurable, easier, and more, you know, thoughtful, you know, mindful, so to speak. The story today we're going to be addressing is the biblical story. I like to put that out there, that it's biblical, it's not historical. Anything you read in the Bible is not historical, it's not history, it's biblical. Okay, meaning it is something that was written as a book, as a story, in Eastern symbolisms primarily. The people that wrote it were in the East. They wrote it in symbolism. We all speak in symbolism wherever you're from, but our symbolism may differ based on what your demographics. But these particular individuals wrote the Bible in symbolisms, parables, and metaphors, exaggeration, just, you know, something that is dramatic and kind of supernatural, if you want to say that. And but the story that you're reading is not the truth. The truth is beneath the story. The story you're reading is just exaggeration of the truth. And
but Sir Chris,
we don't believe anything written in the Bible as history. We see it as a mystery slash psychological drama of the mind. Yes, certainly.
Yeah, but I mean, in any level of writing that we experience, even today, and I'm talking in any of the art forms, whether it be in music or in journalism, any kind of expressive writing, exaggeration is still used to enhance your point, even to this day. If you know similes, alliterations, metaphors, them things that is still being used, hyperbole, which is exaggeration, is still being used in literary format. Even today, everything we man write. If you listen to a DJ, when we say DJ at Jamaica, we're not talking the man who play the music. We're talking the man who write the song and perform the song. If you listen to a DJ when he might describe things, you know, him use some exaggerations to express what he's trying to say. If matter about a female shape, a female body, and him tell us that the Coca-Cola bottle shape it around the place. The woman not literally shaped like one Coca-Cola bottle, but that's the closest thing to perfection where him can use. So if we were to take that literal, some years from now, a man go literally I feel like say a woman is shaped like, and even if the Coca-Cola bottle were coming at them the time, they're not shaped like the hourglass figure where the man will write the song did that about. Now the whole thing is misrepresented. All because the man was using a figure of speech, and thousands of years later, an next man decided to take it literal. You was at people. All right, Vybz Kartel is known as the literary master, the lyrical master, where him are the one who learn to play with words and use them things that the most. Him have a line in one of him song where him talk about, him say, we run the road, ask any car tire. Think about it. The man say, we run the road, that him and him crew, him talk about. Say, we run the road, ask any car tire. Nothing spends more time on the road than the car tire them. And him tell us that the car tire is his evidence that him on the road. Yeah. All the man is doing is manipulating words to bring forward a point. And the better you are able to do that, the better artist you are. The man who write the Bible, they were the best literary writers of the time. Yeah. So they went way above and beyond in expressing what they're trying to say using literal things that is appearing in your life right now, presently, to express something that is not literal. Yeah. They're using matter to tell you about mind.
Imagine that.
You get that? They're using matter to tell you about mind.
And we mistake it for history.
And we mistake it for history and think that the whole thing is about matter when no, the whole thing is about mind. He's just using matter to tell you about mind.
That tells the whole Bible right there. Okay. Now you see, so let's say, if the Bible had prefaced that, as you begin to read, and they tell you, say, now be mindful that what you're about to read is not to be taken as literal history. This is just an assimilation of the mind using physical buildings, you know, stuff that you can see that is evident to the senses, to describe what is not evident to the senses. You understand? But it is to give you some kind of guide or understanding of your own mind in how to use it properly to have the best results and stuff like that. If we were given that kind of introduction, you know, there would not be this mistake from the beginning where we've taken this thing to be literal history. And we are now digging up the earth all over the world, trying to find evidence of some flood or some crossing of the Red Sea, and them look for chariots and all this nonsense that we've been doing all these decades and centuries or millennia to verify what was written as a parable or a story to make it history. It's not possible to make something that was mind about the mind to be history, because you will not find any of that evidence because it is all in here. You understand? The only place to find it is in your very own mind, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Exactly. That leads us to exactly the topic that we're talking about today. We're talking about the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, and now they have created a people, call them Israel, because they feel like they have to justify the story that they wrote, because they believe that the story is literal, and them people that don't exist now yet. So they have to create a people to match the story, hence the Israelites becoming Israeli and all this nonsense that we're about to talk about, circles. But, before I find a passage in scripture here, because the children named Israel, it's the children of Israel.
Children.
Coming out of Egypt. Now is a man did name in the story, In the story, all right, people, not really. Now in the story, a brother named Jacob had an experience, and out of that experience, it is said that his name was changed from Jacob to Israel, which now becomes the father of what we call the children of Israel, the Israelites who now become Israeli. And I'm going to read the story to you, a few verses out of the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 24 to 32. That's where the story is from. Now, if I should set without going back, I can tell you what led up to this verse right here. So you find that Jacob, we talk about it all the time, Jacob, the younger brother, the younger twin, tricking brother Esau, take away Esau's birthright, take away everything from Esau, and he must run, go live in a different country, a different part of town. Yes, sir.
What the chapter and verse again? 30, you said
Genesis 32, verse 20, 32, verse 24 to verse 32.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Jacob go on with him conman thing. Scam Esau, run with over, so go live with him uncle Laban. And go live with Laban over there. He married to one of Laban's daughter. And then Laban can him, because the daughter when think he married to another the daughter when get so if he work for Laban 8 years or 12 years, something like that, in addition, to get the daughter when he really wants. So him stay there and him work the whole time and him get the 2 daughters eventually. So him can Esau run to him uncle Laban can him. I make him work extra time for the girl them. Now he get the 2 girls and he get 12 sons from the girl them, and he's heading back because he hear same father dead. Isaac is now dead, so he's heading back to his homeland, and his brother Esau is on his way. 7 years. Thank you, Sir Marlon. So his brother Esau is on his way. If you come meet him, and Esau have a whole army of man behind him, I come kill him. I remember saying me robbing him thing. Now hear the story I tell you now. Say him send the wife them and the children them on ahead of him, so that they meet up on Esau before him stay back. And here it stays now. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, that is, the man who is fighting with Jacob saw that he prevailed not against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. So Jacob have a strong hold on the man who he wrestle with. And Jacob tell the man, say, yo, the man tell Jacob, say, let me go. And Jacob said, no, I not let you go until you bless me. So the man said, let me go before the day breaketh. That means you know he's a night man that. Him can't make day catch him on this thing here. And Jacob said, no, I not let you go unless you bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. That is the night man where Jacob wrestle with. The man where I wrestle with in his imagination. This is a dream, you know. And he said, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, that is the night man is now saying to Jacob, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince, thou hast power with God and with man, and has prevailed. So Jacob has now conquered both God and man, and has prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, what And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. The night man blessed Jacob, gave him what he desired. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, Peniel. For I have seen God, not God with a common G, God, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. I don't read no further. Jacob, in that experience, she's a dream. Say, I have seen God face to face and has prevailed. What was the revelation that came to Jacob in that moment? Where did he prevail, and why in that experience his name is changed from Jacob? Jacob means the supplanter, the deceiver, the conman, the scammer. That Jacob means the supplanter, the deceiver. A long time I can people him can Esau, in can his father, in run we go to uncle, in can uncle. The man is a con artist. But the thing is now being revealed to him. Thy name shall no longer be called Jacob the con artist, but Israel. What Israel mean? Ish mean man. Ra to act as, and El as in Elohim, God. Israel, the man who acts as God. The man who supplants God. He has been supplanting people his whole life until finally he wrestled against God and supplant him too. That's why the word is said unto him here that as a prince thou hast, let me find it back. As a prince thou hast, verse 28, and he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, the supplanter, but Israel, the man who acts as God. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with man, and not man, men. Look at it, Sir Chris. Verse 28. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men meaning your brother, your father, your uncle. So you have had power over all of them, supplanting them, and now you come upon what we call God, and now you have supplanted God as well. That is why Peniel, as you see Sir Marlon is mentioning here. What is Peniel? Have you heard of the pineal gland? They call it the third eye.
Yeah.
It was a third eye experience. That's why he named the place Peniel. His third eye was open. He started seeing not with these eyes. It was they call it spiritual. It was a mental exercise that Jacob finally overcame. He finally came to the full sense of who he is. That's where he conquer. So that's where the whole children of Israel think. Now, can a thing that started out being mental become physical? It's a mental exercise, not a story. So everything else in the story is all mental. It's all mental. The story is a mental exercise. Beginning with Jacob being named as Israel, everything there is a mental exercise. And everything that follows in the story is also a mental exercise. Does it mean anything physical? Yeah, it can mean something physical when you decide what it means. You are the one who know with that knowledge, armed with that knowledge, have to be able now to transform mental things into physical things. And that's what the whole thing is trying to teach you the whole time.
Alchemy.
Alchemy. Turning water into wine.
Not literally, you know, guys.
Exactly. Not literally. You can't turn water into wine. Wine has so many properties that is not in our water. Where it all come from? If you're going to turn water into wine, that means that you can't add nothing else to it, you know. You have to abracadabra the water till it turn wine. If you add anything else to it, then on the turn, you turn water into wine, you make wine. So these things are not literal. It was never literal. The writer never intended for you to take it literal. But it is useful when you understand it, when you understand what the story is telling you all along. It is very useful. It's very practical. You first have to have the right foundation of the story, and the right foundation is that the story is a mental exercise. As is all other stories in the scripture. As a matter of fact, I'll go further and tell us that every story in the scripture is the same story. If you understand any one of the stories in the scripture, you don't have to understand a second one. It's the same story being told over and over and over again in different literary formats. It would be like Bob Marley sang them. If you really get the meaning of any one of Bob Marley sang them, you don't have to understand all of it. And the same story you might tell over and over and over again in a different way, the same message. Same with scripture.
It's like going to a destination. You have many different ways to get there.
Correct.
You have like in our demographics, we are going to Miami. We have 41, we can't drive. We can't drive 75.
You can go through the bush through cruise line up Ireland and drive that way if you feel like driving a long distance.
Yeah, you can drive 95 same direction. You can use different methods of traveling. You can walk, you can ride, you can take a bus or taxi, or drive your own vehicle. You can take a plane. You go to the same place, but many different varieties of accomplishing the same thing. And the experience is different. If you drive 75, it's a highway. You understand? Say you're going 70 miles an hour or higher. If you drive 41, it's a bunch of stoplights. You go to the same place, but the experience is different. But it is all ending at the same place. So that's why the stories of the Bible may seem to be telling you about something different all the time, because the experience that they give you is a variety of the same thing. So it doesn't make it boring. It makes it look different while telling you about the same thing. That's clever. That's very clever to do something like that. You know? And the children of Israel, I like to say so-called, because these people never existed. You understand? These so-called children of Israel entering the land of Egypt and exiting the land of Egypt is a story of consciousness. All the stories are about consciousness. Like I just mentioned, they are all going leading to the same thing, just in various ways of explaining it. The Adam and Eve story is a story about consciousness. But you see how different that experience is compared to Egypt. And ironically, in the Adam and Eve story, they entered the Garden of Eden and they exited the Garden of Eden. The Israelites enter Egypt and exit Egypt. Mm-hmm. And all of them were lost trying to find their way back home. Adam and Eve was trying to get back to the Garden of Eden. You understand? The Israelites were trying to get back to where they were before they entered Egypt, before they became slaves, so-called. Mm-hmm. So it's a loss of identity it is talking about from the very beginning of the book. You understand? And in the end, it's telling you how to find your identity.
And Sir Chris, who else you know that go through that experience, that lost your identity? Now, all of us, you know, every last one of us, every man born of a woman lost your identity along the way. That's why it is said that we are all born in sin. This thing we say we are all born in sin. Let's take it to be true, because we know that the Bible is true. It's just not real. So what is the truth in that statement that we are all born in sin? First, to find the truth, you have to find something that is common among all birds. And the one thing that is common among all births is that none of us remember being born. That is the only thing that is common among all births. Some people born C-section, some people born headway, some people born footway, some people born hospital, some people born at home, some people born yasa, some people born this. The only thing that is common about all births, and it is the only thing that is common, is that no man remembers being born. That is the scene where you're born. You don't remember being born. Therefore, you don't remember where you come from, who you are. You don't remember one goddamn thing. You don't remember anything. That is the sin where we are born in. That's the sin that we are born into, not remembering who we are. Therefore, we are all born with the same quest to remember. Because you forget. You're born in a state of forgetfulness. And one by one, we remember. I'm just happy that I remember now. You know how much lifetime it takes if you remember, but I remember now.
I don't remember them either. As far as I'm concerned, this is my first lifetime.
Of course, it's the only one that you remember.
It's the only one that I know.
It's the only one that you know. It's the only one that you know. You get back some little glimpse and some little flash sometimes. Yeah. And since we also know that life is a cycle, life is not linear, that goes from one end to the other. We know that everything that goes around comes right back around. Nature shows us that. We see the 4 seasons them. We see them go around and come back around in a cycle. Everything is round. The moon get up from this one. I mean, the sun rises, or this one go, this one come back. The sun rises and it set and it rises and it set. Everything moves in a cycle. So we know, therefore, that our experience is also a cycle. We cycle in and we cycle out. The man them go in Egypt, the man them go in Egypt and them come out of Egypt. You understand what I say? We cycle in and we cycle out. We know that. So that's why I'm of the persuasion that the consciousness that is me, I'm not Mr. Thomas' son. I was not Mr. Thomas' son in our farmer life, I'm pretty sure. But the consciousness that is me, which has always been, that consciousness has cycled in and out until it becomes conscious, until it raises its consciousness to the point where, and the only consciousness, the only level that you are expected to, I don't even want to use the word expected. The level of consciousness that you're coming to is consciousness of self. It's not consciousness about one God somewhere when you whatever I mean. You're conscious, that's why you're picking them. Tell you about that. What you are supposed to be conscious of is yourself. You. Conscious of who you are. That's why it is. Sir Chris.
Come on, we come to a portal. Consciousness come to a portal, and this portal is the woman, the woman. You understand? That is where we come into this world. Portal. You understand? We're not made in some laboratory of such. And then we're here. We know. You said something just now. We don't remember when we were born. But we know how. We know. Because we live to come see animals that do it. We've watched dogs and cats and fish and you name it have children. We've seen our mothers when we were younger, pregnant with our siblings. We know. You understand? We don't need to go study some personal lesson or book to understand that. We can see it, but we don't remember it personally. But we do know that everyone comes into this world by way of your mother. Your mother is the portal in which consciousness enters this so-called world, which is the Egypt that we're talking about here. This world itself, is the grander form of the Egypt. You understand? That we find ourselves in. It's a strange land. We're not from here. This is what scripture was talking about when it tells Abraham, well, Abraham at the time, which means exalted father. Exalted just means this is your higher essence, your higher being. You understand? This is This is your grander side. You're exalted. You're the yod above, you know. And when you're coming to this Egypt or this world, this land of bondage, you're the yod below. In the Hebrew alphabet, the first letter, Aleph. Is that reason why it started with everything in one letter, you know. Everything tells the story from this, you know. The entrance from above coming into this world. And you walk in this land. When you follow that alphabet, it walks you right through. If you really study it properly, you will see you're sojourning. That's what the Bible mentioned that word, sojourning through the land of this and that and whatever. You come into this world as spirit, but you're in a body we call flesh, we call man, we call woman. And we think that that's who we are. That body is what bonds you. It's a bondage. It's a land of bondage. So the people, our children of Israel spoken about here, is your awareness, your consciousness. Your consciousness is the children of Israel. And we are in this body, which they told Abraham that your people, paraphrasing here, will find themselves in a land, they will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs for 400 years. And that's what scripture saying now. Your people, your seed, this is Abraham now. Abraham here is the absolute father, the whole, all of consciousness that is sending the seeds of itself into the many. All of us spread out on this island, this land, this world, what we call earth, are the seeds, are the seedlings, the sparks of the one grand consciousness. You understand? And by the way, we're not the only planet that exists. So we're not the we're not the whole consciousness as it relates to that. You understand? There are other planets in this cosmos and around the galaxy and the universe itself. We're just talking about us here. We were planted here. We chose to come here through the portal of our mother's womb. We enter here in a strange land. We're a stranger, even to ourselves. We don't know who we are, don't know what we are. Born as a baby, we don't know if we are man or woman. We don't know what sex we are. We don't know what species we are. We have no clue what we are. We learned that. If they tell us that we were a dog, we would have believed it. And if they told us a dog is a human being, that's what we would have believed. You understand? Everything we learned is from the people who came before us. Okay? So we don't know who we are. But one day, we start to wake up. Who we were told we are, we think that's who we are. That we are man, we are woman, we are human beings. We are from our mothers and fathers, and we were told all this stuff. One day we wake up and realize that's not who we are. You understand? We don't have a mother, we don't have a father. You understand? We are self-begotten. We are the Elohim. We are the grand, awesome, consciousness, awareness, universal mind that has fragmented itself in the many, and having these little experiences called life. So the Bible is telling a story, as Sir T mentioned earlier, using physical attributes to tell a story of a mental truth. The physical part of it is a lie. The physical part of it is fiction. You understand? But what he's talking about is a truth, which is consciousness, awareness, the unseen, the thing that's only seen from within, the invisible, only something that you can visibly see within yourself. You cannot see consciousness, its true form, its true self, out there. It's invisible or within visible force or source that you have, and it's projecting reality as we know it, or what we call reality, from itself. You understand? But as a newborn, as someone new to this world, to this earth, you found yourself here as a stranger. I do believe that as a baby, we have no memory of when we were a child. But as a baby, the baby comes into this world somewhat pure in the sense where it's blank. It's a blank slate, has not been programmed yet with what it is, who it is, and where it is. It's in its purest form as a baby when it comes here, and it's pure awareness, observing, looking around. And I believe may have even memory of some sort of where it came from and all these different things. But as you get reprogrammed, now you're going to a reprogram and put into you this new system, this new you know, what do you call it now, the storage and the memory, all these different things are planted within you, implanted within you, and now you're operating a new system from the old system. The original is no longer. It's still there, but this one has supplanted it, superseded, and you're now operating from that. But as you grow, you lose that memory of your former self, of your true self, and take on this new memory, just like how you take on this new body from consciousness to flesh, you know? And you're lost. You're in this world. You're in this body. The body represents 400. So you're told Abram was told that his seed will find themselves as a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they will be mistreated for 400 years. In the Hebrew alphabet, the last letter, the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet, represents 400. His name is Tav. Tav is a cross. Its symbol is a cross. When you stretch out your hand like this and stand erect, you look like the cross where the so-called Jesus was on. And we were taught that the cross, the wooden object that he was on, is the cross. No, the Jesus that you see on the cross represents your awareness, represents your consciousness. Though they're using it in a physical representation, a man on a cross, Jesus, in this sense, is your awareness. The word Jesus means Jehovah saves. Now, this consciousness that we have is a lowered version of the whole. And this is why you can use it to your advantage to create your life or to save you, so to speak. In other words, I always like to use the water plant or the electrical plant. Let's use the electrical plant. Electrical plant cannot be used in its truest form to power this house. It will explode, it will burn it up. It will not work. The people who understand electricity knows this. So what they did, like consciousness, they lowered it into a more minute form of itself. It did not lose its ultimate force or property or whatever. It was just divided. In other words, if it's 100,000 watts and they put in 100 watt in every home, you understand? then they're going to divide 100 into 100,000. You understand? And that will tell you how many homes this 100,000 watts can go into. And at 100 watts only, not at 100,000. So the whole is in the many and the many is in the whole. But the whole cannot go into one home all at once. It had to divide itself into what it can use in a home that will run the house efficiently and burn, and it will not burn anything up or catch anything on fire if operated properly. You understand? That is what consciousness has done. That's what we have. We have within us this symbolic Jesus, this Jehovah save. We have this Savior within us. All of us come together, makes up the Father, who they have named Jehovah, which means I am. Okay? So that all of us have to come together to make up the Father. All of us individualize are the sons, whether you're a man or a woman. That is that's what they call us, persons. Okay? Everybody's a person. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. Okay? We're all the sons of the grand awareness, operating with the limited consciousness of itself. However, do not misunderstand that though this consciousness was limited to that form or that that power, so to speak, does not mean that we're not operating with the same faculties. We are still using the Yod He Vav He process. The whole consciousness is Yod He Vav He, and even when minimized to a smaller version of itself, we're still operating as that, because that's what electricity does. It still have the same properties as the whole in terms of how it processes things. It gives power to everything, just in a limited aspect of itself, because the whole of it it cannot save itself using the whole. Consciousness knows this. This is not something that is debatable or can be changed within consciousness itself. It has no ability to change that. Even though you hear people say, well, if God did want to do this, he will do that. No, nonsense. Everything is done the way it can be done, only, and in no other way. Consciousness have within it laws, principles, mode of operations that it cannot override or supersede. It is what it is. Okay? If you want to drive on the wrong side of the road that was given to be driven the opposite direction, you can do it. But you're not change the direction of the traffic because you're driving, you decide to drive against it. There will be consequences. You understand? Drive on your side. And consciousness works the same way. It's has to obey it.
So Chris, when you mention the laws of consciousness, you and I fully understand it. I'm sure people in Mania fully understand it. But then a man listening from the outside, I say then, you just said the laws of consciousness. So who give the laws? Who is the law of consciousness? God is the law of God. Make the law. My people, listen. A law simply is. A law cannot be created or destroyed. A law cannot be created or destroyed. If you create it, or somebody could have God, you could have good luck at God. If you create a law, it's only temporary and it's not a law, it's a rule. A law cannot be created, it simply is. I just saw it. It is a law that if you jump from top without any kind of floating device, you're gonna go to the ground. Nobody created. A man will say, well, God created the law of gravity. God not created no law of gravity. Law of gravity simply is a cyber. Lekete, it is what it is. It is what it is. Simple. And that is a law. All laws are simple. That it is what it is. You go born and you go dead. It's just a law. No, God sit down where and write down and say, people say God know the day when you go born and God. Not go so. Me can hang myself, me can shoot myself and kill myself right now with a God like you. You understand me? I say me can walk in a tree life me want. Whether God wants to or not, that nothing to do with no God. No God no know no day when no like that. Not go so. Foolish is that. We just being frank. There is no God who decide these things. Man is the one make the only living, breathing entity that makes decisions is man. Nothing else makes decision. Everything else simply is. In other words, everything else is just a law, and man is the one operating the law. Everything else it simply is. It's just a law, and man is the one operating the law. You are the one who decide how you meander your way through life using the law. I've always said it that from the day a man born till the day in the part this earth, the only thing that he's doing is trying to avoid death. That everything that you do in the long run, that's what you're doing, trying to avoid death. Every decision you make is a decision trying to avoid death. And eventually that decision is gonna end up killing you. Every decision that you make is gonna lead to you making another decision till you make another one, till eventually you make one that kill you. It's just it just simply is. Everything what you do, Sir Chris, is to avoid death. Whether you know it at the time when you're doing it, that you are doing, but that's what you're doing. You're doing everything to survive. Survive is to avoid death. You're doing everything to survive. And every decision that you make is gonna lead to another decision until you make the ultimate decision that end up killing you. You will kill yourself eventually by the decisions that you make, whether it's gonna be bad dieting or whatever it's gonna be.
So in saying that, then you're the one making the decision. I know other God in the sky.
No God in the sky. No, but no devil, no weird. You are making all right decisions. And the decisions you're making, the decisions with your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is mirroring them back to you.
Sir Marlon,
no man, Sir Marlon can jump in when he can, man.
Go ahead, Sir Marlon, make your point. What I'm saying? Sir Marlon? Come on, you can't unmute. Okay, so when you get a good position. All right, just raise your hand when you're ready then. All right, cool. So he's not in a good position to make his point. But as we're saying, talking about the Israelites and Egypt. In our modern day, we know that there's a country named Egypt and there's a country named Israel. I have friends from both places, Israel and Egypt. We don't really have these discussions. Maybe one day I will, and none of them look like the people who, according to ancient history, who lived there. None of them look like that, a fair-skinned people. So the true Egyptians, them don't even look like modern day Egyptians, none at all, based on the history of Egypt and what they've excavated and what they found and so on and so forth. Those people don't exist right now. Different people who are there now. Same with the Israelites or the Israelis, as they call themselves now. In other words, I believe what they have done is copy the book or try to use what the story said in the book to make it literal or believable or real in today. And besides, as long as the Bible been around and people are dead off already, everybody dead already, So we're here now trying to make sense of what we've read. But we don't have anybody from the past to come and verify how these people came to be now. Who call themselves Israel, who call themselves Egyptians. But I can tell you, none of them belong there. These they're not who they say they are. You understand? And why we can't say that? Because the Bible is not real. The Bible is a fictional story talking about the mind. So you can't use something that is mental and then take it to create a physical experience that was meant to be mental to begin with. In other words, you can't write about Santa Claus. All of a sudden, a man come claim himself to be the Santa Claus all along. I did reindeer and all these foolishness. And I said, I hear the story I talk about. So how you not dead, sir? Everybody is dead. Nice. The people who wrote about you, dead and gone. Are you still alive? You actually riding with a sleigh in the sky and nobody else can do it? Want to believe I could jump over the moon and all these foolishness? These are stories, people. Using physical extremities to talk about the mental. How we misconstrue it and believe it to be as a historical fact. It's talking about your mind and how it operates, your consciousness. Okay? Your consciousness is this Israel, which is acting as God, because only your consciousness can act as God. Because your consciousness is this. You understand? It can't act as no other way. The problem is because we don't know who we are, we think we're flesh, we're acting as man. You know, but when you start using your awareness and realize, oh, my awareness is who I really am, you understand? I need to see myself and act as that and see myself no longer to be this flesh. I will see myself no longer to be mortal. I will not see myself as being born or having a mother and father. Scripture tell you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Have a mother and a father.
That's a question I wanted to ask, Chris. Have you ever, may I ask you personally right now, have you ever sat down, I mean not just since you come awake now, I thought ever since you come through as a youth, have you ever wondered now yourself when I say, you come like say, it's different for everybody, like everybody go dead but me now go dead.
Yeah, I used to tell myself all the time.
Like everybody go dead but me. But me. For me, I look at you, me used to wonder if I'm a God, you know. You know, so for me, I look at people, when me did believe in a God, me attack, you know, me attack when you're 5, 7. Yeah. Me used to thinking to myself, say, I wonder if I'm a God, I have nobody know. I always wonder. Guess what it is? It's because you're coming in contact with your consciousness and you're realizing that there is an eternal part to you. Yeah. There is an immortal part to you that I want to show you is nothing. When I find myself since I wake up, you know. Yeah. If you're saying to myself, say, since my born 1972, I wonder if I dead a couple of times and come back and me no remember nobody. Like, sometimes I have to think that now myself, say, I wonder if I dead a couple of times and people just don't know. Yeah. It's a weird phenomenon. It's a weird thing because your consciousness can be exercised and bent in every shape. Eh?
I meant the same thing too.
All right, awesome. I'm not crazy then.
No, man, you're not crazy. I've actually meant that same thing.
You used to think, say you are girl and nobody gonna go like when you're like.
You used to think that.
Okay.
Me are the only one who are gonna be alive and everybody gonna dead left me.
Yes.
And I didn't feel like I could die. You understand? I have that I had that supernatural, if you want to call it that, immortal feeling that I can't die. You understand? I couldn't come to the realization of how death is. Even though I see it around me all the time, I never identify myself with it. Me personally. I say everybody else does operate whatever, but me different. I would say that. When I was a very, very small kid, maybe 3, 4 years old, not in them with it.
Okay. I always played or something that like I just always knew that there was one different something going on. Like something different is going on.
Yeah.
And when we wake up, I come realize now, say, I know me alone, everybody. It's everybody. Some people just not aware of it, but it's everybody has that thing about you, which is your consciousness, which is eternal. You notice you don't have to teach a man consciousness now. You don't have to teach a man consciousness nothing, you know. Things that work with consciousness. Does anybody have to teach you to forget something? Everybody have the experience of forgetting something. You forget where you put on this, a man tell you name and you forget it. You forget things. And also, on the contrary, every man forget things and then remember. You know what is you don't have to teach a baby how to forget things and then remember it.
No.
It's natural because that's how consciousness works. Natural. Yeah, and consciousness is everything, my friends. Everything. Like I said, God, whichever one I God you chose, could not create consciousness. Because God would first have to be conscious before he can start creating anything. Not even a shoesless God couldn't create if he never conscious. He conscious first. Have you ever seen an unconscious man?
No.
A dead man is the only unconscious man you see.
The only man is unconscious, a dead man.
He's a dead man.
Yeah.
Can a dead man create anything?
No.
Okay, a dead man, if you left him right there, you come fall upon him, sun come dry him, he can't move, he can't do what thing for himself, he's dead. You see them all the time, and them no work with dead people. Dead. That's a man that has no consciousness. He's dead.
Yeah.
Good. That would be what God would be like if God never have consciousness. God have to have consciousness, and he couldn't create the consciousness because you first have to be conscious before you can create anything. Consciousness is the boss, not God.
That's what we're saying.
Everything comes out of consciousness. Consciousness could not be created. It simply is. I want to ask me, I was made a comment on a social media thing recently, and somebody asked me in a comment, so what are you? What do you call? See, I'm not Christian, I'm not religious. So what do you call yourself? What do you call your beliefs in? Well, I don't believe anything. I don't believe in nothing. Well, I'm a realist. The best thing I can describe myself as is I am a realist. Meaning, I take things that are real as real. And I exclude things that are not real out of my reality. Things like God and Ducky and Angel and Satan and all of them something. I exclude them things out of my reality because they're not real. So I'm a realist. And if it offends a person that I exclude God, which really it is just your God. When a man will get offended at you when you say God not there, he's just offended because you are saying him God not. The Christian now have a problem with you saying Allah no exists. The Christian have a problem with you saying Allah no exists. The Christian have a problem when you are telling him that Jesus don't exist. Which what does that narrow down to? Every last person is an atheist, whether they want to admit it or not. To the Muslim, every Christian is an atheist because they don't believe in his God. To the Christian, every Muslim is an atheist because they don't believe in his God. And the other religions, same thing. We are all, every child was born an atheist. Prove me wrong. Every last child. I don't care which religion he is the head of. Every child was born an atheist. He didn't believe a single thing. So you tell him I didn't believe. Sir Marlon with it.
Why, Sir Marlon?
Yeah, man, give thanks. Blessed love, RT and Chris and everybody. All right. What's the level now? Hey, some gems when I drop today, and I hope say all I can soak in. We all soak up everything because we have to maintain this level of intellect. You understand? And don't let it go as we keep waking up more and more. And here's why I said this. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Well,
All right. So you see the point I'm gonna try and make while you guys were on that a certain topic is, you see, we're taught to listen to scholars, teachers, preachers who bring this word and disseminate this word, so-called disseminate this word to us, and we must believe what it says. We are taught that God knows best for us, and we must trust that. We are taught that even in tragedy, we must trust that God has a plan for us. We are taught. Now, who it is are we being taught by? Other men, right?
Yeah.
Other men. So we are discouraged from leading to our own understanding. No, for we never hear God voice because what we're taught to do, we're from movies and from we're taught, right? When we read the Bible, God always come with an audible voice to him most times to him servant them are through a visual angel or in a vision, right? And so forth and so on, and things come to pass. But in modern times, who can say they have heard that voice? Who can say they have seen and bright light an angel come and them fall down upon them face from the brilliance and was in fear? Who has ever said that? But yet still, they disseminate this information and come and tell us. The point I'm going at is this, we must listen to that word about God, trust in that. This God that we have never spoken to before. This God that when we children die, we have to trust that He had a plan, or He has a plan. When we have loved one murdered, and we now weeping and wailing and mourning, you understand? Gruesome thing, violent thing. Where is the God to intervene? You understand? To stop this atrocity from happening. We have to trust that there is an end of day, that we all shall be redeemed, and that there shall be no more weeping, but all joy, and we shall join our loved ones again, and whatever. All right. We have to trust all of that, but right here now, the present that we are experiencing, this is what we know. We we um we have to endure. We are told that we have to endure. You remember why is it that Emmett Till is dead? Because somebody told a lie on him. And that lie was told and was believed by others.
why who is that, Samal, and who's the person you said?
Emmett Till, the story about Emmett Till. Emmett Till, man.
McHale. Okay.
Right. He's dead because he was murdered by some white men who believed the tales of a white woman. You understand? And the point is this. Who are we to say that these people who are coming, disseminating the scriptures and saying that this is so and this happened and that really happened and that, even though we have no proof of that, we have no proof that this actually happened. But we're believing these men because one, fear, two, I still fear, afraid of hell. And we're not listening to that voice within us, which for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say God, even though we're not using that word, but for all intents and purposes, God speaking to us, our consciousness that knows the secrets of the universe and is trying to revive itself within us step by step. We are taught to ignore that. We choose to ignore that and listen to other men bringing forth lies, telling us their version of what things are. And so people die because of this same thing. In the case of Emmett Till, this woman said something, men acted upon it. So now, in the churches and the religious organizations, these teachers and leaders and preachers, them say things, and it's all coming from their perception of what this thing is, or what they are taught to believe it is. You understand? And people soak it up and they make decisions based on that. We were once there. But the fact that we are not there anymore is because we were always troubled by the information that we were receiving. Every one of us right here now, something never sit right. You understand? Our consciousness was too strong trying to come out. And we always have a problem, even when we never say anything at the time. But the fact that we're here right now, we couldn't take it no more. You see me, David? So at that, I just want to bring awareness to that particular point when you did touch upon it. I don't remember why exactly this is 30, but
Yeah.
that
So,
right there.
something that you mentioned that all of us that have gotten to this point, we've journeyed here. And when I say we've journeyed here, we started out in some form of religion or the other. And at some point along the way, it just didn't satisfy. It didn't satisfy us. We knew that there was something more than this thing. And that's why you went in search. And if you went in search within yourself, you have to search. It's because the dissatisfaction came from within you. The dissatisfaction came from within you and you went in search, and out of that search came this understanding that you are now experiencing. And this understanding is something that you can practically use. You can exercise it in your life, in your experiences, knowing that the consciousness is the eternal of man. The consciousness is the eternal of man, and there's no need for fear because the consciousness has nowhere to go. You know, what you're going through is simply an experience. All the way to the day you drop flesh and dead, that also is only an experience. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to dread. There's nothing that's gonna, overtake you that you can't manage. No. One day you're gonna leave this fleshly experience, and life continues. Consciousness continues. Gregory Thomas stops here. Once I drop this flesh, Gregory Thomas does not exist anymore. But the consciousness that I am, so Marlon, if I'm gone before you go still hear my voice in your head and say, boy, I said to you, that's just this and that and that. Yeah, that's the consciousness that does not die. That's a consciousness that continues on. If me dead and gone, you can still hear my voice exactly where it sounds like it. To the point where if you hear a man talk, you say, boy, that man talk like 13, my man sound just like him and him, man. Good. Because the consciousness thereof, it remains. The man way of thinking, the man mindset, all of that kind of thing. You see some man come with some mindset and say, yo, the man they have Malcolm X mindset. Look how long Malcolm X been gone. But something happens and it brings him back to memory. That's how you live on forever. Because life continues and what you are, life is not something that you have. Life is something that you are. No man not have life. You are life. And as long as life is here, you are here.
You have experience.
Yeah, you just have an experience. You don't have consciousness, you are consciousness. You don't have life, you are life. You don't have energy, you are energy. And if you want to say God, you don't have a God, you are God. If you want to say God, when I use a word because we want to start the definition of that word is just contrary. But there are three terms that I use. Can God supersede any of them three things that we just started? Energy, life, and consciousness. Did God create any of them three things? Can God outlast any of them three things? Can God, is God above life? Is God above energy? Is God above consciousness? If God is anything, he better be one out of them three things. All of them. Otherwise, he's nothing.
Hey, Sir T, you ever see, just like we say a while ago, you ever see some people do some things sometime, like you that do something. All right, let me not use you, because your parents, I'm still there. All right. You ever see a man have a father, a mother, and them pass on, or even a relative and them do something or them say something, and right as them say it and do it, it bring you right back to a point in which you experience that with the individual who already passed on.
Yeah.
And it is so real that you have to say, yo, your brother, you know, say that something there, and you get up and react in the same exact way. Like how me know such and such I do. Like, just like what I say, when me I do I
You
support
see
you,
it all the
say,
time, Sir Marlon. You know
yeah,
what?
man, daily.
You watch some tape, some video. You see Bob Marley boy them a perform. You never see what the one name not Kimani, Julian. A performer, him have a way where him put him hand class in forehead like that, just like that. And
Yeah, man, just like Bob.
Immediately him doing that, you're not even looking at him on the stage. You're looking at Bob Marley on the stage.
Bob, man.
In that split moment, Bob Marley is not here.
All right. I'm just not dead in a flesh, brother, because the flesh, nothing in this realm of existence will last. Everything everything is expendable. That is physical in this physical realm.
Correct.
The consciousness continues. Energy.
Because everything that is physical became. So if it became at some point, it have to unbecome. If that is
right.
Right. Everything that is physical started somewhere. Yeah, man. If anything that became will one day have to unbecome.
Yeah,
but
man.
Consciousness simply is. Consciousness did not become, so it cannot unbecome. Consciousness just is the constant. Consciousness is the zero upon a number line. Consciousness is it is the only singularity in existence. That's why when people single out God and say, "Oh, God, you are God all by yourself," everything has an opposite, except zero. Zero, which would represent consciousness. You notice zero is a circle, circular. Zero would represent consciousness. Zero is the only number that has no opposite, no equal and no opposite. Every other number has an equal and an opposite that cancels it out. -1, positive 1 is not any different from -1. No bigger, no different. Because if you add them together, you get nothing in.
So you start to know you use mathematics and you explain the thing because it is so.
Positive infinity, if you go infinity, positive infinity is no different from negative infinity. That's when you go to the extremes from the number line. What sits in the middle and has its balance is the number 0 that has no opposite, no equal, no opposite. 0. So 0, which represents nothing, which is a circle when you write it, that's what represents consciousness. There is no number that exists without 0. No number can exist without 0. There can be no number system without 0. 0 has to be there. So 0 is the beginning of all things. Nothing is the beginning of all things. And nothing is the only singularity. One has its opposite, 100 has its opposite, negative infinity has its opposite, and its opposite is equal to equal opposites that cancels each other out and come to what? 0. If you add them together, you get 0. -1 plus +1, 0. Everything comes right back to 0. Nothing. So if God is a singularity and is the only singularity, then God has to be nothing. And if you are nothing, that means you don't exist, non-existent. Nothing doesn't exist. That's what 0 represents in numerology. You know, when you're using 0 in any trigonometrical or algebraic expressions, when you get to 0, 0 represents nothing, no value. That's what life is. The consciousness is represented by 0. Nothing. It is everything and nothing at the same time. Because nothing, no other number in the system can exist without 0. So it is everything and at the same time it is nothing. It's consciousness. That's the God.
Hey, you know, Certi, I want to add something.
Certainly, because we talked about earlier this week with the light and the darkness, you know? Yeah, go ahead, Sir
It's
Marlon.
something with the light and the darkness. They are one and the same.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Them exist. They exist as what I call it now. Like a kind with the two side.
Yes.
It just was the one kind. All right, may I go again and say, look on a keyboard, look on a piano. Them have a middle point of them called middle C. And there's a most musicians start, you understand, learning to play. You have to know a middle C there. All right. The resonance.
C for
The
conscious.
eh?
C for consciousness.
See the man. The resonance going to the right side of the key versus going to the left side of the key determine, which is the frequency, determine the mood and emotion that occurs upon a person, you know. So let us say going to the right side of the keyboard all the way up, which is going to a higher pitch each time. That resonance determines yes those frequencies determine the spiritual resonance that one experiences, which is opposite to this resonance that you experience when you go to the left side of the keyboard to the lower keys. But all of them are keys on the keyboard. I wonder if you see the sense when I make out that.
Yeah, man.
You see me, David? Yeah, man. A very low key, very low, a deep key. It affects one's emotion, the frequency, and the way in which you react and think, because it affects your vibration. You understand? If you're loud, and then the highest key on the keyboard does is reactive with it creates that reaction, but the reaction might be opposite to the one that you did on the other side. And thing. It might be a happy feeling, a more productive feeling, energetic feeling, make you feel like you want to get up and just do things and just get a whole lot done. But on the lower side and things just make you want to chill, just build. You know what I mean? I not do nothing but then just relax. And these things are real because I've experienced it. I play the flute and people tell me that certain time when I hit certain note on the flute, it like it release melatonin that them like melatonin make them feel relax, like them muscles just relaxing at them automatically. And them just feel like for just chill and not do nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? But it's musical notes. You understand? And I find this to be relatable. You understand? To what we are talking about. Because these things are what we can say we have experienced. And we can talk about it. Now, other information will come through. We can when a man come and we read in our book and whatever it is. It's only a story to us. We have never seen the sky won't open one voice come down and talk. Or one hand reach out of the sky and write on one wall.
That's
You know what I mean?
That's the story, Sir Marlon.
Yeah, that man. Them say Santa Claus ride in them say Santa Claus ride just like 30 that said earlier. He ride with some flying reindeer with one sleigh in the sky. The only Santa Claus we see we do them something there in a show. I don't know, so them have to use camera trick and what it and CGI for do them something there. If you had a Santa Claus, him big and fat and then in one mall, sit down and hold a little picnic, sit down on them lap and them have say ho ho ho. And them have to bring things put in one bag for him get to the picnic them. It's not real. Them try to make it real. Yeah. You understand?
And they say
by putting it in your imagination.
You believe it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. And you spend your childhood life looking out for this Santa Claus. I ride on him sleigh and I come down the chimney. I ain't have no chimney, you know. But you're so convinced that this story is true because who's telling you the story? Your mother and father, your grandparents, your family members. You see it on TV. It must be real. Only to come and find out say it was all a story. You know, it was never anything that was actual. We have a North Pole and all these different things, but Santa Claus didn't live there. You know, this is all just make believe. Interestingly, the Santa Claus story is actually about consciousness. Pinocchio is about consciousness. All these things are told in a form where it is cartoonish or um, you know, fictional or what have you. But if you study the story carefully, you will see that it's talking about your awareness. You know, it's talking about you. Who is you? Consciousness. You know, so all those stories are talking about a truth, but what it is showing you, and the people doing all the expressions and what have you, they're not historical. There's no historical Santa Claus, and we know there's no historical Pinocchio, because it's a make believe, you know, cartoonish character, you know. But somehow we have accepted this biblical story or this Bible and say, you know, all the stories are historical. And these things have captivated and taken over our minds. So we're no longer thinking for ourselves. We're thinking from a biblical perspective. The imagination is so profound that you can take something that is not real, not historical, and make it so. Because everything in your imagination is true. So only your imagination is the truest reality that there ever is, ever was. Everything is real there. Because it is that powerful. It can make anything real. A man can tell you, say, there's a lion in your backyard right now, and you see him in your imagination. You understand? You have no evidence. But based on the description, based on the urgency of the situation, you have formulated a line in your own mind, only to find out it was all in your imagination. So these people who are finding artifacts, so them say, are remnants, are signs leading to the crossing of the Red Sea, which they cannot and yet to identify, because they're now saying it's the Reed Sea, which is a shallow water, you know. But they're making up all these concessions to justify or give credit to their story that they cannot seem to, you know, undo. They're trying, but them can't undo how it was told. So they're making up all kind of different things to match. If they could write it the way they want to, they will write it into history. You understand? But they cannot undo it. So what they're doing is trying to find things that add to what the writings or the scriptures say. And say, see there, I told you there was a crossing of the Red Sea. Here we found how many chariots and wheels and this and that and the sort. And we find footprints. You know, all these things are supposed to still be there after how many years ago that ceremony that would have been?
Yeah, 2000.
Or 5,000 years.
No, not so much. Well, then again, me and no bread.
I know 2,000 years would have told them, you know. That's the Jesus story. We're talking about the
Jesus story.
we're talking about the Exodus story. That story there, early into the Bible.
Yeah, more. Yeah, but you know, like I say, it's all fiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, no. At the end of the day, no. You see, we have come to take what is essential from the story in terms of the development or the, the remembering of oneself. You understand? And serve its purpose for that. But just to believe, and let me use the word believe, because that's what would I end up doing. I believe something that was told to us that this happened and that happened. And a lot of it leave a lot of loopholes that doesn't make any sense. And we'd have to fill it in with our imagination, which would be the wrong thing to do. Do you understand? There's a lot of gaps in the history of the Israelites in Egypt and left out of Egypt and a lot of gaps in the story. And them try to fill it in. You see what I'm saying? So if we should believe it, then we would be doing ourselves an injustice. And what relevance is it to us to keep following that story of that movement? Well, how does it help us today? If that were real and we should.
Not helping the people over there right now. You know, see what
Yeah, that's right.
it's not helping them.
It not help we not know every day them get up and I preach the story and whatever it is. Why is it important for you to know that if such a thing happen? You see me idea? Like I said, the gaps that are there in the story, and then the inconsistencies, and then the cruelty. Like for example, one time the people in the wilderness, after them go over another the 40 years in the wilderness, when I tell them the people them kind of violate and say out and say a thing, and God start wipe the boat to them, people start drop like fly, and Moses have to tell Aaron to grab
Who you say?
the them start kill out the people them man. Cause them this year one thing, like them they violate
Oh, the devil then.
and think according to the Bible. But no, they never mention the devil. Never mention the devil, the people them just start say some things where God it upset him spirit. Never like it. And them start dead. The earth start open and take them in and all of something. Then Moses have to tell Aaron to grab the incense thing, where them burn the incense and run through the congregation. And that save the people them.
Or
You understand? Yeah?
the Ark of the Covenant you talk about? They will have it. They will have it.
Hold on, I'm gonna come off. I'm gonna get my ticket. You probably even something.
Yeah, yeah, me know. No man under the Ark of the Covenant, man. I
Okay.
forgot where it is written. I forgot where exactly, to be honest. It is written. But yeah, man, a thing go on, man, and the people them say a thing. And according to the writing, God never like it. You know what I mean? Him feelings was hurt over it. So people him start drop like fly, him start killing people him some Moses have to tell him brother Aaron for grab the incense holder with the incense and burn and run through the assembly of the people. Now remember thousands of people, you know. You understand? And so at that save the people them. Remember, see there's another time, you know, where God had out kill off the people them and Moses have to beg for them. You understand?
So man
And
have more sense than God.
what the story is that tell us that God get nine feelings real quick. Him not like, you know, when people have a difference of opinion. You understand? And get nine feelings real quick. No. If we should have followed them teaching, is God supposed to have full of feelings them kind of way there? No one human predisposition that.
As far as I know, yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That's a human predisposition. You understand? So therefore, why is God getting them feelings? Get angry, get jealous. And then something there. Who's there to get jealous of? If you're all powerful and almighty. And then you leave all these people in a position of here in a position of disadvantage. But them have to find them way out. And they have to call upon your name, which you not answer. And you have to call upon through your son name, which you not answer either. And then tragedy still hit. And then people are taught to just believe same way. In having ways and know best. But your faith shall heal you through this troubled time. So why the troubled time did I have to come then? Why did I have to lose my son? Why did I have to lose my daughter? Why did I have to lose my mother so early? Why can't I have to lick down that one day? Where were you at the time? You see what I'm saying, Circus? It makes no sense. Because you can't answer me, but me if answer you. And me if serve you and work good and give all my money to the man who said I represent you. But I feel me if I have and I forget through life. Listen, man. Back to you, Circus.
All right, 13. I'm head out on an assignment. I think he's actually doing two things at the same time. Working and doing the show. So he's going out on an assignment. But yeah, man, Sir Marlon, that was you're speaking to the choir, and that's everyone's, even the Christian them have that same, I would say question or questions, as to why this God gets so angry and has killed so many people. And if he's not doing it again, if he's not doing that anymore, which we have not seen, then what are they killing now? Who's doing the killing now? It's actually people who's doing it in his name. So now the people have taken over and getting jealous and angry and mad and what have you, and killing in the name of Allah or the name of God or the name of Yeshua Shaya, all these different names that we've come to know. They've now become this jealous and mysterious God, killing everybody, everything inside who does not adhere to, believe in, their doctrines. Even the Christianity as we know it, as they've killed millions of people to indoctrinate the world. That's why it's called Catholic, means all over, universal. Yeah, man. They have indoctrinated the world by force. Now, if you have to force people to accept your indoctrination, then you're doing it in fear. You're doing it by force. You're not going to truly be committed. And that's a gun to your head. You're not all in. You're not even in. You were put in, And somehow, somewhere, they've managed to hide this truth, managed to hide this history of their past. And people have come to accept this doctrine, this Christianity now to be the as they would say, the gospel, the good news. And not informing or telling people of how it came to be and by what force and how many people lost their lives, how many generations lost their lives along the way to be indoctrinated with Christianity. And in knowing that, when you tell people them things there, they say, oh, that was the past. But yet still them mother, them sister would take with them boyfriend when they were young. Is it rubbish? So they won't forgive each other, but they'll forgive the people who brought in this good news by way of force and what have you. And I've used what was meant to be a symbolic story, a story of metaphors, parables, symbolisms, you know, hyperbole, just exaggeration. And to disseminate from that the truth of the matter, to not look at the surface as what we're as to what we're trying to tell you. You have to go below that. And that's where the truth lies. What we're telling you here is just a figment of the imagination. It is not real. It never happened. But below that is a truth that's talking about your true self, your truest form of yourself. You know, much like looking at yourself in the mirror. You're not seeing your true self. You're not seeing who you are. You're seeing a projection, a distorted view of your true self. And because it's of definition and it's fleshy and whatever, blood that runs through your body and all these different things, and you can talk and you can walk and you can do all these things, you identify with that aspect of yourself. And missing that what lies beneath what you're seeing is who you really are. And when somebody tell you that's who you really are, you're a spirit, you're a soul, you're not flesh. Them don't accept it, them don't believe it. They say, no man, I'm a body, I'm a flesh, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a human being that has a soul. I have life. I was given life. So once you start separate, if you say the other way around, no man, I'm a soul that was given a body, that has a body. However, I come to accept or believe that a soul is eternal, cannot die. Spirit is eternal, cannot die. God is eternal, cannot die. We've come to accept that. And we've accepted that the body does die. We've seen that it does. We know. And when it does, we say, may your soul rest in peace, or they're in a better place, and all these different things. We don't believe that the person is in the casket, who's in the casket or grave. That's who is dead or who's gone. We don't believe that. So we're saying it at the person's death that they're in a better place, and we look at the person in the casket. So which is it? Which one are we? You see the madness? We don't accept that we are not flesh when we are alive. But as soon as we're gone, no man, and I him that, and I she that, she's in heaven. That's just our body. It's foolishness. And we don't measure the things like that to see we're talking backwards, about who we truly are. And we've failed or refused rather to come to accept that that's who we are. Like I would hear people say, oh, me and a God, me a human being. I was made. So that is your perception that you were told. That's not your actual truth. That's what you were told. You have not internalized that to be who you are. How would people tell you? Because if you grew up and they tell you that what you're seeing in the mirror is a spirit and you're not really here, it's a projection. And we were told these things from day one, over and over and over. We would have come to believe that, and anybody tell you anything other than that would be false. False prophets, false teachers. We would have known not to accept that. So you see, it's a matter of perception or what you've been told, how to look at things. And when you're told to look at things that way, you don't internalize it on your own. You don't go back and revisit because you've been told, do not question, do not ask, do not revisit, do not question your forefathers or the Bible. Don't question God. Believe everything you hear. Believe everything you see. Believe what you're told. Imagine that. You know, we can't question anything else but that. This one book named the Bible has taken over this entire world. And if you leave it up to them, the powers that be, they will broadcast it into the universe. You understand? They will find ways to find other planets to go there and indoctrinate the people them with them nonsense. Using a storybook to make it real. When we are grown people with a conscious mind, can think for ourselves, and we grow up to become adults, and we are still believing the nonsense. We're not acting like we were when we were kids. We're not acting like we are kids. We're gone through that. We've grown out of being a child. We don't say things like we used to when we were kids. We don't act like we were kids, like when we were kids. But we still carry that stuff that we learned ever since we were kids up until this day. 100 years old, still believing the same foolishness. And you're not a child anymore. It's amazing. You know, the mind is so easily controlled. Easily controlled because of ignorance of self. Once you know who you are, if a God exists, not even him can come tell you anything other than what you've come to know. Him, not the devil, can't come and tell you any foolishness. But because of ignorance, you continue to accept the stories told in the Bible as facts, history, and have, you know, found and add this to and take away this from, and saying, boy, the scripture was not translated properly. So what are they? So the people who have bought the current translation and have taught that, what happened to those people? You know, if what was recorded hundreds of years ago was not properly translated, because you've now found ways to fit in your perceptions of the story. 400 years from now or longer, they're going to be saying the same thing about your translation, that you didn't get it right. Why? Because we're all trying to make something that is a story history. The word story is in the word history now. It's his story. That's what they're giving you as something that's factual for you to hold on to. We're here telling you the one great I am, to cease from accepting how the Bible was preached or taught to you, and learn within your own self. Process things your own self. Read the thing, and like Serti would say, using practicality, meaning my five senses, reality of the five senses. If this thing does not make any sense, that a man can't walk on water, we can't turn water into wine. We have not seen anyone done it, even though we were told that we would still be doing the same things and greater, turning water into wine, walking on water. We were told that by the scriptures, that we will be doing these things and greater. We're supposed to take those stories and discard them, as Neville would say, if it doesn't make sense to the five senses. Discard them as just stories. Don't accept them as truth or reality or history. Because in this world right now, as far as I know, it's the same world that the flood was written about. It's the same world that we have the Garden of Eden. It's not a different world. Them soon start talking about that now, say, we were transplanted into a different world. And this is why we cannot find XYZ. You wait. Wait till this generation dies off. When we dead and gone, and the new generation comes, they'll be hearing a different segment of the story that we were transplanted to a different earth. This ain't the one that we were on when the flood happened and whatever. Yeah, man. You wait. Because of the ridiculousness that they've come with over and over to change the narrative that they've been preaching for hundreds of years, you know. And all of a sudden, that narrative is wrong. This was really what he was trying to say. You see the madness? When something is true, it doesn't change. Only a lie changes over and over and over. Yeah? Truth can't change. But you change a lie to make it fit, you know, the narrative. Or whatever narrative you want to give it in this particular time or times to come, you know? But truth cannot be changed. It's always the same. You understand? Can't change. So when you see people trying to put this here or take away this from here, you know it's a lie that they formulated and now they're trying to reconstruct and add to and take away from to fool the next generations to come, to keep the story going on, that the Bible is a historical book. None of it is history. You know, I can take a book and turn it into history by naming places. And how do I know that? Right here in America, a bunch of places in America was named after the myth or mythological perception of Egypt and of the Bible. And the Egypt that is named, that they've used in America, is not the biblical Egypt. It's the historical Egypt, the Egypt that we've come to know that exists now. They have built America around Egypt based on what was written about it, based on what they see on the walls and all different things. Are we to now believe that America is Egypt? Well, some people would say, because I have a book I'm going to watch or listen to that talks about that America is Egypt. But not in the sense, the land itself, but the properties, the things that they've done, the on the money, the all-seeing eye, all these things, the pyramid, all these things come from Egypt. It's not original. What do you call it? The Washington Monument. That's from Egypt. That's not original. The streets they have there in DC, all of those streets are in Egypt, from Egypt. Maryland was named after the Virgin Mary. Virginia, named after the Virgin Mary. Want to see it? They're neighboring states. Maryland, Virginia, the Virgin Mary. So are we to believe that Virginia and Maryland is actually Egypt? That is, it is the historical Egypt, or the historical place where Jesus was born? No. We can see that this is something copied from a book and using it as some kind of a reference or story. Was it not real? That's what they've done with the Bible. All these places you see named, whether they be Egypt or Israel, you know, all came from what they read in the Bible. Egypt was not even named Egypt. Its original name is Kemet. So I don't know when it become Egypt. Okay? That alone should tell you. Its original name is Kemet, not Egypt. But somewhere, somehow, it's now called Egypt. And we have a place named Israel. And they have Jerusalem, and they have all these places built over there. They have Jesus' grave over there in Israel too. All these things are just copied and put in place because the generation that wrote about those things are taught them dead and gone. So they're not here to challenge anything and say, no, man, this is not true or it's invalid or whatever. They're not here to say that. And we won't be here to say what they're going to be saying then either. But we're putting out this information, this truth now. But when people come after us, they will know. Don't follow these idiots or don't follow these people. They're all liars. Nothing that you read in the Bible is historical. There is not or has ever been any special people named Israelites. Never. They don't exist. Everyone is the same. We're all human beings with different varieties of shades and culture, you know, and beliefs and what have you. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. Last time I checked, Israelites born through their mother, Jamaicans born through their mother, Americans born through their mother. Everybody have a mother and father. Last time I checked. So how in God's name are these people so special? What made them special? It's utter nonsense. If based on biblical scripture, if Adam and Eve are the ones who begin the Bible up until now, so how comes some people other than the Israelites are not God's people? That makes sense? If after the flood, 8 people were left to repopulate the world, how in the world you only have Israelites who are over there in Israel who are God's people? Where everybody else come from? If these were the only 8 people that were left, shouldn't everybody, you know, these 8 people that were left were all Israelites? Did you know that? The 8 people that were left after the flood, they were all Israelites. All 8 of them. So how we have Israelites and then we have everybody else now after these 8 people? Like, make that make sense. You see the madness? But people will find ways to say, but you have to understand that, you know, when Abraham had, not Abraham, when Noah had his sons, Ham and Shem and Japheth, and they went this way and that way, they took on a different name. What the hell? What is that? If I have a son and a daughter and they all have a bunch of kids and whatever, and then some move to Germany and some move to Africa, what the hell does that mean? They're no longer in my lineage because they moved to a different demographics. Are you serious? Don't the bloodline will show that if they end up over there, even if they mix up with white people and everybody else, it will still come back? Haven't we seen that with science, that it would still come back to the beginning? So how could you change? Yes, sir, Clifford.
All right, you know I always have fun when we get into stuff like this.
I explain. Okay. How does it become different generations, different culture, different?
Okay.
How does Israel separate itself from the 8 people that left from the flood? Explain that to me.
Slow down. Okay. So when you're talking about that, the Israelites are the sons of Jacob. All right. Those are the Israelites. Those are the 12 sons he had. They came after Noah. So it's just a matter of your cousin went and started something and he gave something to his children. His children are the ones that get that inheritance. not necessarily your children, even though you might be of the same blood and of the same family. All right. And it also came down when you look at Jacob and Esau. Those two were brothers, twins, in fact, and the same one came out just minutes apart. One was given a blessing, the other one wasn't. So under the same family, it's easily you can go ahead and split it up and say one group gets something and the other group doesn't. So that's just evident right there. And then when you talk about the genetic diversity between the groups of just the 8 people on the flood, when you look at science now, it shows that had there been different people, you wouldn't have the genetic diversity that we do. It's a limited amount of diversity that's currently in the genetic, the DNA structure itself. And that can be traced down to the genes, and they've gone down to I want to say the haplogroup that says that Eve, or the first woman, came out of Africa. So, I mean, those science does justify
that. Science justify what they want to justify, just because I don't know science.
Well,
I have the of what science, how to, disseminate this
gotcha.
from.
And I don't have that information right in front of me, so I'm not saying it's the right stuff. But what I am saying is, to your question of how does that split happen, it's easily to see. The Israelites are the sons of Israel and their families, the 12 sons that he had. All right, everybody else out there that's cousins, they're not of that direct line. So that's where you get that split.
I know, but what I'm saying is this. I understand that part of it. Now, remember, I don't buy that foolishness. I understand the scripture.
Hey, I'm not saying you have to believe it or not, but I'm just trying to align the line you said. You asked, how does that split happen? I wanted to answer that question, how that split can happen.
I know how the split happened. It's almost a rhetorical question. What I'm saying is, for people out there who are not knowledgeable about the Bible, because more people are not knowledgeable about it than are knowledgeable about it. So, very ignorant about the story that you just told about Isaac and Esau and Jacob. Those 3. Most people don't know that story to a T, and how it came to be and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, I'm just going back to the Genesis, the beginning, that let's just say I am God. I am God, and I have 2 people, a man and a woman, and they spread out all over this land. And all of a sudden, I've chosen from some dissection of their descendants to be my people. But these other people, because they're not accepting me as the creator or whatever, they're no longer my people. But in reality, everybody's coming from one source. Everybody's coming from one source, but most people were cut off by the generational source, God, and say, okay, Israel, okay, Jacob, only your people are my people, because you guys worship the true God, according to scripture. But everybody else, the Egyptians, they know many gods, they're worshiping all types of different gods, they're no longer my people. So I'm just saying, technically, what I'm saying is that everybody of flesh, every man and woman, came from this general source. So we are all these sources people.
All right. So let me give you this example.
I said one specific group. I said no, because everybody else worships Satan and Allah and Jehovah and all.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's look at that.
Only you over here that worship me in my name, whatever the name is. You are my people. But everybody came from this one general source, from the so-called Adam and Eve, and from the 8 people who were left to repopulate and replenish the earth. How in the world, if you're using common sense, you're saying, well, this cannot be what the story is trying to tell us, that there's a certain specific amount of people that came from the 8 who are only God's people. And no, these people run the world. These people are over there in Egypt, in Israel, running the entire world as Jewish or Jews or Israelites. And everybody else are just a bunch of rubbish peons.
Let me give you a story. Okay, let's say you got your shop, right? and you have two sons. You train both of them to cut hair, right?
Yeah.
One son cuts hair very poorly, nicks people, cuts them up. You give him the books, he doesn't do his math right. He's taking money for himself. He's taking what should be used for the business and using it for other things. While you have another son that listens to you. He cuts hair well. He runs the books right, and he does that. They're both your blood. They're both your sons. One listens to you, one doesn't. So who do you leave the store to?
One that's doing what I'm asking him to do.
Right, the one that's leaving you to do. So if you have, in this example, you have a group of people that are listening to your word, obeying what you give, the instructions you have, and you have another group that's not listening to you, choosing to follow other people, taking the advice from bad advisors. Who do you leave your history, your land, and everything to?
The ones who've taken my advice.
Exactly my point. So the people that follow the book, people that observe the law, statutes, and commandments are the ones that get the inheritance, the ones that get the blessings. The ones that don't are left to the wayside. Just because this world's full of good people and or full of lots of people, and some of them may listen to you sometimes, some may listen to you other times, but the ones that listen to you the most are the ones you're going to give that to. So you're going to have people that don't qualify, that don't receive your blessing because they're hard-headed and they want to do something different. And the Lord Most High gives everybody the free will and the ability to do that. And they can, just like you can make a choice to follow something that's different from what was written in the book, it's all within what you'd like to do. And that option is given forth.
Yeah,
and
so
that's basically what you're looking at in the world.
I understand your point.
Now, the whole thing that everything's run from the Jews in Israel, I mean, that's arguable. That's conspiracy theory. That's some of this facts. So it's one thing. But one thing I will point out, when you look at the society of Judaism, number one, you gave an example of who's done wars and forced people to observe their practices. Christianity did that. Islam did that. But Judaism didn't do that. It didn't have any wars to do that. It conquered certain areas and I don't know if enslaved would be the right word, but it took over areas and they just basically wanted to keep to themselves. So that's another part. But then also that's in that culture is that the children are taught to rise to a higher level. Just like in one society, if you teach somebody athletics and they all of a sudden go into the NBA, they dominate the NBA. While you teach another group business, they all of a sudden go and dominate business. Whatever emphasis is put on that is what you see going forward. There's certain groups that emphasize education, mathematics, and arithmetic, and you see that them excel in that. What as a culture and group they focus on is what you're going to see them become dominant in. So that's one of the things that leads to the Jews run the world and all this. But as a culture, they focus on business because they have a principle. If you don't teach your child a trade, a skill, a business, you're teaching them to be a thief because they have to go and take from somebody else to get what they need as opposed to being able to develop something that's going to provide for them. So
let's
that's the quick response I wanted to give to that.
Let's use one of your words that you like to use. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. Okay?
Sure.
Push back on that. So I understand where you're coming from, Clifford. That is that's common sense, I like to say. If my right hand is dominant more than my left, I'm going to go with my right. But I'm not going to discard my left hand because it's not doing what my right hand can do. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to say, I'm going to cut off my left hand because it's not good enough as my right hand. No, it has its purpose, its use. But I favor this hand. Because I use my left hand for cut here. This is the one that obey based on what my mind is saying to do the work. But I do not discard the other. It still has its purpose. So in that saying, you don't discard the rest of the world as God because one set of people are doing what you ask them to do. Your job is to get the others to be of significance. Just like on my left hand is of significance because I can't cut unless my left hand holds a person's head. And I'm not even aware that I'm holding your head with my left hand. You know, I cut your hair. I don't know I'm using my left hand. It's second nature. I'm more conscious of my right hand because it's my dominant hand. It does everything I ask it to do. But the left hand has its purpose. So what has been happening now is the rest of the world has been alienated that has its purpose and usage in congruence with these so-called Israelis. You understand? We have our purpose too. We are still the same human beings. We still have the same flesh as they do. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, two lips, a nose. Everything in us is the same. What makes us different is our belief
choices.
System. You understand? That's not even choices, but
well, your belief system is your choice. You can choose to follow
our demographics. You know, where we live and who we choose to call God. You know, we might say, oh, God is named Jehovah. You might say, oh, it's I am or Yeshua, whatever. It's the same thing, but we've chosen to say or use it in a different way. But you're going to discard. You're going to not love your child because your child is not listening to what you say to do. All you do, you take them away from. You're not going to run the business. Go and run your own, but you're still my child. I'm not going to discard you. I'm still going to love you. On a human perspective, I don't love any of my kids more than the other. You understand? But to your point, if one does better in some areas than the other, then I'll put that one to do that. And I'll put this one to do this. But I'm not going to discard anyone because they're not following a specific rule and what have you. You're still going to be my child.
But okay, so there's 3 points I would make. Number one, just talking about your last point, the Bible actually it's not a matter of discarding. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of it specifically says he loves one more than the other. You know, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, and he specifically says that. But in the sense that that's the Most High's decision as the created item, the created being, or the secondary to the primary, we don't have any say on that matter. We can't go ahead and judge somebody. Just as a child, you may say, Mom and Dad are wrong for doing one thing or another. You're the child. You don't get a choice in the matter. You don't get that statement. Number two, if the Lord does discard one group or another in the sense of having that, but if he discarded them to the point that he hated them, if the Bible were true, as you stated from your point of view, and he wanted everyone else discarded, he would just get rid of them. He would just go ahead and kill them all. But for the fact that that hasn't happened, it shows an example of it's not a matter of them discarded. They're not just not being favored. They're still allowed to live their lives and do what they wish. No, which brings me to the final point, and it does come to choice. There's plenty of people that were raised in a Catholic home and chose to do something different. Just like you or Mr. T or Sir T were raised in a specific home that followed a certain religion. You made the choice, despite your environment, despite your demographics, to go a different path, to do something different. So it's not a matter of where somebody's born or where they were raised. It's a matter of choice, because people born and raised in certain areas have the choice to stay in that area or they can move. They're not a tree. All right. So it always comes down to choice. All right. And if you do that choice, you follow it diligently, you get the favor, you get the blessings, and you get the things that come along with that. But if you choose not to, you're not allowed to hate on somebody that chose different from you.
Here's what has happened with that view or that perspective. All we've had, because of human behavior, all we've had are just because of that is wars, jealousy, envy, hate, all these different indifferences, because it has to happen that way. Because if you have some people who are favored, there's going to be animosity, there's going to be jealousy, there's going to be hatred,
jealousy.
So you're creating a warlike zone among people who are neighbors. It's not like these specific people who are chosen are on some distant remote planet and nobody can go there because that's where they were sent. And but they're here. So the general population, the rest of us, by nature, animal nature in which we are going to revolt and rebel. Despite what the so-called scripture has said, we're not going to care about that, because we We are modernized. We can think. We can imagine for ourselves. We don't have to be told what to do or what we should do in this matter. We're going to disseminate right from wrong, um, favoritism, and all these things. We're going to see it for what it is. We're going to realize that, wait a minute, these people look just like us. They're not different. So, as a matter of fact, they're not even doing the so-called works of God. The last time I checked, Israel is over there they have every weapon in history. They have atomic bombs. They have nukes. They have all these different things. Anything they need to disseminate, to kill, to annihilate anybody who come against them. They're not doing the work of God in spreading the good news, the good message. These people are pushing back on people who see it otherwise. You understand?
So I would disagree.
Am I to follow these people that they are the people of God when these people are over there murdering, killing innocent people to extract a few bad ones? Is that how you go about doing that? Seriously?
Like, so
rationalize that, because these people
number one
are more powerful. They're like a wing aspect of this country. You understand? They have the same type of capabilities in that region. Nobody's more powerful than them over there. And besides that, they're God's people. And don't forget that they don't look like the original historical Israelites. If we want to go there, they don't look like them either. So how do you explain? How did some black people became brown or light skin or white in this case? How is it that they changed? What happened?
Right. Well, what you'll find is many of the Israelis that people refer to are ethnically Russian. So, I mean, that's one aspect of it, is how they've gotten lighter. Then you have a mix of the Arabs that are going in there. There are different ways on that. But just to run to your point, how one group can...
How do we accept their stance that they are the chosen people of God when they are imposters? Where are the chosen?
Well, number one, it comes down to...
Where the Israelites?
So when you look at when you look at the groups, we come down to obedience. All right. And when you talk about one group following the other, whether someone converted, whether someone
lost Clifford. Oh, you got there he is. Yeah, go ahead, Clifford.
I lost connection there. All right. So when you look at two groups, whether one was born into it, whether one converted to it, either one has a valid claim to it off of their observance. All right. So if one group is observing and the other one's not, as we noted before, the people that are observing are the ones that get the blessing. Now, I see there's a large level of the group.
Are the Israelis
the groups that are observing it? Law, statutes, commandments.
Are they observing what is taught in Scripture? The Israelis, are they?
The Old Testament,
which is
they don't accept the New Testament. The Torah, the first 5 books, the law, statutes, and commandments.
They only accept the Torah.
No, the Torah. They do not accept the New Testament. So the claims made in the New Testament aren't something that they observe or recognize.
Hold on. Stick up in. So where is the tomb of Jesus at? Where's the tomb?
In the one in Judea? Where the stone was rolled away and all?
Yeah, where's the tomb at?
Isn't it in Israel?
Isn't it in Israel?
Right.
So how them do? Well, that story came from.
Hold on, slow down. Judaism is different from Christianity.
No. I know that, but I'm gonna let you know something. Christianity came from Judaism. It came from,
Correct.
though they're different, it came from that. But what I'm saying to you is, um, if they don't believe the New Testament, why do they have the grave over there in Israel? Why is it there?
Okay, so let's,
not the Old
okay,
Testament.
okay, slow down a second. All right, when Judaism and when you talk about Christ the Messiah, you move into that creation of Christianity. All right, the Israelis don't see Christ as the Messiah, so the New Testament is not something that's included. All right, so they look at.
Question though, why do they have this the grave site in Israel that does not? The Israelis are Jewish people, you know, right? They're Jews.
Yes.
And they don't believe in anything but the Torah. So why do they have a story that they don't believe in existing in
They
their...
don't. They don't.
Huh?
They don't have that story in their book. They do not have that story in their book.
No, man, not the story. I said, why do they have the grave site?
Right. The grave happened, the death and murder of Christ the Messiah happened in Israel. Okay? That account of it is not recorded in the Torah.
We know that.
It's recorded in the Bible, right? But you're talking about the Jewish people. They don't have Christ in the story. He's not in the Torah.
I know
it's not there.
If they don't buy it, why do they allow it then? Why they allow
they don't
their visit? Who allows
they don't? They don't. That's strictly Christian. That's not Jewish.
No, I'm saying it's in their country. The Israelites are Jewish people. Why do they allow Christians to come to their country talking about Jesus Christ who they don't believe in? In other words, if I don't practice Christianity in my house, I'm a Jew. You can't come to my house talking about I want to talk to you about Jesus Christ. It's not going to happen.
Right. And no, hold on. They have a certain level of freedom of religion, but they actually do outlaw that. They don't allow Christianity to be like proselytized in their country. You can't go over there as a missionary and start do street preaching and say, hey, come over to Christianity. They'll shut you down. You don't have freedom of religion like that there.
No.
In the United States, you can do that. But just like you could do Buddhism, you could do Islam, you could do the flying spaghetti monster, whatever you like. But you're not allowed to do that in Israel.
Well, if you're not allowed to do that in Israel, it should not be allowed. I wish Sir Marlon was here because he's been to Israel I don't know how many times. But, you know, and I know other people that I've studied who said they've been to the gravesite, blah, 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 what have you. It should not be in Israel.
And
it should not be.
No. Hold on a second. Because you have to look at their perspective. They see the worship of Christ as having another God, which violates the first law. Have no gods but before me. And they see Christians as idolaters and worshiping Jesus more than the Most High.
I get it. But I'm just saying.
So that would be a violation of the commandments. So they're only observing the commandments are written in the Bible. And that's actually written in the New Testament.
Not be in their country. They should not have that gravesite in Israel. Like, how did it
that's where it happened. But you got to remember, Christ from the story. So from your perspective, let's say he's real. He was from Judea. He was from Israel. He was born there. So he'd be allowed to be buried there. So they can't just move his gravesite and say, hey, you can't be buried in the country. That doesn't make sense.
Say what now?
All right. He was born there. He was a Jew. Okay. So they can't say when he dies, you can't be buried here. That's not what happened. They didn't move the grave site just because
that he was born in Israel. He's an Israelite. He's Jewish. We know that. But here's the irony. If Jesus is Jewish and they are Jewish, why don't they accept him? They're still Jewish. Whether they believe in
because what it says in the New Testament is there's a veil over their eye where they won't see it, so the fullness of the Gentiles can come in. So it's saying that the Most High God actually blocked their ability or their vision to see him as he was, as the Messiah, so that way it could be accepted to people that want to make the choice to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. And when the according to the story, according to the book, when the proper number or at the right time, all those people are in, the doors closed, everything's set. And then everybody sees, oh my gosh, we were wrong. These people are of that. Christ was the Messiah, and everything goes according to that. But there, it says there's a veil over their eyes where they do not see Christ as the Messiah. It's in the book.
Okay. So now you're saying that they are not right that Christ is not the Messiah. They have a veil over their eyes.
Yes,
that's
what the Bible says in the New Testament. I'd have to look up chapter and verse, but it specifically says they have a veil over the eyes so the fullness of the Gentiles can come in.
All right, so check this out. So let me interpret what the Bible is saying there. Okay? Let me interpret that, especially for those here who may not understand what the Bible is saying there. Okay?
Well, actually, just let's pause on that one point right there. 95% of people that even say they observe the book haven't read it. And then even of that 5% that have read it, they haven't truly studied it. So most people are ignorant to what is in there, what they should be following, what they should be doing. But now, go ahead and do your interpretation.
I know that part of the Bible you're talking about. I can't quote what verse it's in and what have you. But trust me, okay, here's what it is saying. So the Gentiles are just people who are non-Jewish, just to keep it real simple. They're not Jews.
That's not true. There's two types of Gentiles, ones that are not Jews and ones that are Jews and don't realize that they're Jews. They became assimilated into a foreign nation.
No. You're talking about it from a physical or historical perspective. I'm talking about it from a spiritual perspective.
Okay.
To keep it simple, Gentiles are people who are not Jewish. Who are the Jewish people? All right. So Jewish, to be a Jew is to be an Israelite. All right. You're an Israeli or Israelite is one who acts as God, who recognizes that their consciousness is God, of God. That's an Israelite. Take your mind off of the modern day or historical Israelites. We're talking from a spiritual perspective. Your awareness is this Israelite, because only it can act as God. Only it can act as God, because your consciousness is God. Okay? It's a subdivision of God, of the whole. Now, the Gentiles is the body. The Gentile is your body, which is the veil. It does not know that your body is thinking that it is the true essence. It thinks that's who it is, the body. It doesn't know that it is spirit. It doesn't know that the spirit that's within you, that is who you are. You're thinking that you're the body, you're the Gentile. You are Jewish or Israelite, but you do not know it. You think you are the body. The body is the veil. So the Israelites, the so-called Israelites, when the scripture is talking about these people, it is saying that for those of you who think that you are these chosen people and that you have the Torah and that the Torah is the only God or true God that you should believe in. What I'm telling you is when you move from Judaism and you recognize that you are spirit, because the Jewish people right now today think that they are flesh. They don't know that their spirit is who they really are. They don't know that. They don't know that their souls is who they are. They are holding on to this historical Jewish behavior or culture as a people. When they let go of that and recognize that they are spirit, that is when they move into Christianity. To let go of tradition as being a Jew, as we know it, Jewish people know it right now, is to become Christian. A Christian isn't somebody who accepts his so-called Christ as their savior. No. Who died on the cross for you. No, that's not Christianity. Christianity is knowing that your soul, your consciousness, your awareness is who you are, is the Christ, is the anointed one, is the Son, is the Savior in your moment yourself. And you understand that you move from being or practicing Judaism, meaning that you are practicing from a traditional standpoint. You're holding on to tradition, you're holding on to culture, you're holding on to the earth, to fleshy stuff, to our so-called people who are favored by God. And then recognize that we are all favored by God because we are all God. We are spirit. Every last one of us, I don't care if you're gay, black, white, man or woman, a child, old man, whatever. All of us are spirit. And none of us is better than the other. That would be like saying that if I take a cup of water from the ocean and somebody take a cup of water from the ocean, my water is better than yours. No, you just have a smaller volume than what I got. My larger volume might have more knowledge. That's all that means. I know more of what I am, but you are still the same integrity as who I am. You are H2O, you're water, but you're just at a baby state of knowingness. But you cannot change. You must ascend to where I am.
Oh.
So that's what the Bible is trying to tell people. But we have physicalized this thing and made it history. And that became a veil. Because you're still looking at it as history, that is the veil that is over your eyes. Not your physical eye, but your eye, your inner eye, your imaginative self. It's your third eye. It is hiding who you truly are because your two eyes are your external self, and that's who you think who you are. And you will always do that until you wake up.
So I would say one thing to that point.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually study Judaism from a metaphysical standpoint, you do understand that the body is referred to what they say is called a klipa. It's a shell. So I say there's a better understanding than you're aware of as far as under Judaic practices, as far as knowing that you're more than just a body. You're not a body with a soul. You're a soul with a body. Just like you have you're a driver in a car. All right. Where your soul can be pulled out. So there is a deep understanding of that and knowing that. Christianity, I would agree to you to the fact that they don't understand flesh and soul, and that's all one big ball of yarn. But and I got to go back to no video because I got a guy over here that's street preaching, and it's really the noise is not doing that. Plus my connection's a little off. But I'm just gonna sit in, listen in for here. But
where you at?
Actually, I just went to do a job. I finished that job, so I popped to do a Dunkin' Donuts so I can actually get some work on the computer, putting in my invoices and all that stuff. So I was outside because I didn't want to have the conversation inside the store and mess them up and whatever and upset anybody. But now there's a guy on the corner that's got a speaker and playing music and yelling at the drivers that can't hear him and all that fun stuff.
What is he preaching?
But I'm gonna listen in.
What is he saying?
He's saying Jehovah Jireh's God, Jesus is Lord, and he's playing standard Christian music. So he'd be a fun person to converse with as well. From a different perspective. But I'm going to listen in. I'm still with you, though.
We're going to wrap up soon anyways. It's been a minute. Serti looked like he's caught up with work. Sir Marlon looked like he's also caught up with work. But we're going to close out. But I just wanted to, basically reiterate and to, remind us all, everyone who are here and those listening or will be watching, listening at a later date and time, is that just to make it clear, we do not hate people who claim themselves to be Jewish, Jews, Israelis, Israelites, or what have you, because we see them as human beings just like ourselves. We also see them as our fellow I am, our fellow spirit, as ourselves. They may not see it as that, but we do. And they don't need to see it to not be it or to not be identified as such. It's okay because it doesn't change who they are if they don't see it as we see it. It still is so. And that is the veil that is over their eye, their third eye, which is the eye that you awake from or from within. As in the story when Jacob wrestled with the angel and he said he called the place where he wrestled Peniel, which means literally face of God. It is you identifying yourself as God. You see who yourself has always been. It's not generally a face as we know it. These words, when translated or when used, can be misleading. Words like to see. To see doesn't necessarily mean you see with these eyes. It means I know. Because when somebody say something to you and you say to them, do you see what I'm saying? There's nothing to see. You're asking if they know what you're saying. But you use the verb, do you see what I'm saying? It's just a general figure of speech. That means, do you understand? Do you know what I'm saying? You understand? So when you read stuff like that in scripture, do not take it literally. When somebody say, I have seen the face of God. It simply means that you've come to know God and primarily know yourself as God. Okay? But they use words to see, and these things mislead people. And it was probably done like that to, again, hide the truth to the unawakened, to the uninitiated. And only those who are awakened from within your third eye realm will disseminate, discard certain words used or sentences used or figure of speech used, and read in between the lines and interpret it as it rightly should be. The problem is the ones that did not, who got a hold of this book, were not people who were enlightened, who were awake. It's almost like giving somebody a car to drive who has never taken a driver's lesson. Not one day in their life, but they got the car. What are they going to do with it? They're going to wreck the car. They're going to wreck people's property, all type of stuff. And everybody watching these idiots do it think that's how the car is supposed to be driven and drive it the same way. You're learning from somebody who is ignorant. The blind leading the blind. There goes another figure of speech. It doesn't mean the person is blind. It just means that they don't know. To see is to know. To be blind is not to know. You understand? And Christians and all these people around the world practicing all these different religions, whatever they may be, they are all blinds leading the blind. They themselves are blind, and so everybody who follow them are also blind. Because if you don't know, you can only teach what you don't know. You're teaching what you don't know. You can't teach anything beyond that. Your consciousness would not allow you to do other than what you know. You only ascend based on your consciousness of a higher understanding. These people have remained on the same understanding for millennia when they come to this thing. And that's why the entire world is lost. And walking around blind as a bat, as you would say, and think that they know. Because you're looking at everything from a historical, physical, literal perspective. Can't know the truth if you're looking at it that way when it was not written to be understood that way. If I pick up a fictional book and I read it says Spider-Man can spray webs and all this foolishness, am I to believe that there's a man that is Spider-Man picture? Am I not to realize that this is a cartoon, this is a figure of the imagination, a supernatural aspect of imagination that was put into a character called Spider-Man? I know. No, there's no Spider-Man. I know there's no Superman. I know these things. It's my imagination. You know? Why haven't we seen the Bible the same way? Because by the time those people got a hold of it, it was beaten. People were beaten into submission to accept it as this. It was history. We are the Israelites. And then there comes the it's crazy. Then comes the what people are named the Roman Catholics, you know, who are the ones responsible primarily for spreading this Christianity and this religion all over the world. That's why they name Catholics, because it means to make it worldwide, all over. Okay? We want everybody to know this as the truth, a historical Jesus, a historical Adam and Eve, historical Moses, Abraham. All these people, they've historicalized throughout the centuries. Okay? And it's really amazing that the people who started this nonsense, it is still continuing even though they are not here. Imagine that. It would be almost as if they are still alive till this day. The people who started this are no longer with us, but their foolishness still continues. Why? They're blind leading the blind. We saw what they did and taught it the same way. And it becomes a lie taught over and over becomes truth, even though it is not. A lie taught over and over becomes truth. Because what is truth? Something you believe. It's really that simple. A truth is something you believe. It doesn't mean it is facts. It is just something that you believe without any evidence. You just accept it. And because everybody around you accept it, we're creatures of habits, and we follow fashion. We like to follow each other. Monkey see, monkey do. It must be true. We don't learn to think for ourselves or use our conscious mind. What we have a mind for if we don't use it? Our mind has become the tail, wagging the dog instead of the dog wagging the tail. Are you, if you use the mind does not use you. The mind is a tool. But we've been told or taught how to use our minds. And the mind has no way to refuse how it is being used. A hammer has no way to refuse how you're going to use it. It's made for a particular purpose, but they can't refuse if you use it for something else. It is incapable of doing that. So is your mind. We've accepted this foolishness for far too long and carrying on this madness. So what we're doing here is to start a reversal. However long it takes, whatever it takes. That's the motto. however long it takes, whatever it takes to reverse this foolishness. We're living in our, as scripture would mention, in our, Judaic, Abrahamic beliefs of the Torah, meaning that we are flesh and that we have a God in the sky, because that's what they believe in the Torah. There's just God in the sky who have a deep voice, who come down and pray and talk to them and what have you. Meanwhile, the New Testament is an interpretation of the Old that tells you one day you will awake from that acceptance that there is a God in the sky, to now realizing that there's a God in you. The God is in you. And more importantly, is you. When you do that, that is the day that you have become the Christ, or have the Christ consciousness. Hence the word Christian or Christianity. That's when you become a Christian. When you recognize that you are the Christ, the anointed one, that you are the savior of your own self. And you need not another man to save you. Only you can save yourself or destroy yourself. Either way, everything is on you. When you come to know that, that is the day that you have removed the veil, which is called circumcision, not the physical circumcision of your penis. Okay? Your penis represents the head of creation. In the physical symbolic form, it's the head. It starts there. Without the penis, a woman can't get pregnant. You understand? But there's a foreskin that covers the penis. It represents blindness, being blind. So you have a foreskin penis-wise, but the body is the truest form of the foreskin. Why is it called the foreskin? Because it's what you see first. It's in front. It's what you see before you see who you really are. Your body is this foreskin, speaking of in scripture, not your penis. Woman don't have penis, so it could not be talking about that. If every Israelite has to be circumcised, okay, it just means that our consciousness is Israel, or Israelite. Israel is the whole consciousness. Israelite are the individual consciousness. All of us here are the Israelites. When we come together as a whole, we make up Israel. It's really that simple. It's not rocket science. Okay? And when we remove the belief that we are flesh, and we now know that we are to act as God, and only as God, and never in the form of flesh, meaning to only see this world as the only thing that is true, but there's a true essence of us that we cannot see, but is the responsible part of us that creates what we do see. All things come from it. And without your consciousness, there's not anything made that is made. So everything you're seeing is not real. Only that which is not seen is real. And all things come from it. That's who you are. All these things must fade away. Well, your true essence does not, because it was never birthed. It can never die. It just simply is. When you start to see that from an internal perspective, you have removed the veil. You have become circumcised. You have risen. That's why it's done on the 8th day when a child is born in the historical Israel Jewish culture. It represents resurrection, rebirth. You're born again. Okay? I could go on and on. That's really what this Israelites leaving the land of Egypt in search of the promised land mean. The promised land is not a land as we've come to know. It's not where you're going to put your house and all this foolishness. There's no land that is promised to anybody. Nonsense. The promised land is the renewing of your mind, is to land at a different perspective of your life from flesh to spirit. Or you can look at it in another interpretation. Whatever you desire, that's what's promised to you. It's promised to land in your life. That's where you're going to land or end up at. If you're promised a newborn, if you desire a baby or a new house or a new car, that's where you're going to end up at. That's your promised land. That is your Jericho. You know, and we'll talk about another time. That is your Jericho means a fragrant smell. It smells good. That's your Jericho. What's that smell? It smells good. You move towards it. But there's a barrier. The barrier is the wall that's around it, meaning that you do not accept or believe that you can have it. You have limited yourself that you can have what you desire because of facts. Don't have the money, don't have a job, all these things are factual. Those are your walls around your Jericho. Your Jericho just means your desire. It's not a place that ever existed. None of it is historical. All these things have confounded the world. Okay? So there is no promised land in terms of a land that we stand on. No. The only promised land is what you've always had and always been, and we truly are. And that's your consciousness. That's where you're going to end up. You're going to let go of all the foolishness that you've carried with you all these years, all these decades, all these lifetimes that you've come and go, and end up here, knowing, not believing, but knowing who you are. You used to believe all the foolishness. Now you know who you are. That's the promised land. And that's why these idiots will continue to fight over land, because they live in by the flesh and not by the spirit. Even though scripture tells you, you can only worship God, your consciousness, in spirit and in truth. What is the truth? Knowing that you are spirit, knowing who you are, that you are not man, you're not woman, you're not rich, you're not poor, you're not any of these descriptions. You are consciousness, having an experience, and like an actor, just got lost up in your experience. You got lost in the character, and almost believe that's who you really were, until they say cut. The film is done. You know. So it's really that simple, guys. So the Exodus and the entrance of an Israelite group of people is a mythological story. A myth is not something that is real, but it is true in terms of the beneficial properties or principles that's within it. There are principles within myth, but a myth cannot be seen as a literal story. It's what is not seen that is the truth of the myth. Fables, parables, all of them metaphors the same way. Okay? It's time we stop taking these things as literal things and see for what it really is. All right, so that being said, could go on and on. Thank you guys for staying this long. Sorry he got busy. Everybody else got busy, I guess. But appreciate you guys being here. And listening, you know. And Mr. Sunshine, thank you for giving your perspective, sir. It creates a contrast, so I can accept or deflect or reject or take away from and show the other side of the coin, you know. So I'm just here to make it, you know, more palatable, so to speak, more, you know, easier to digest as the real nutrient that is supposed to be. All right. So be safe out there, sir. And I'll catch you on the next one next week, Sunday, which will be the 8th, I believe, the 8th day from today. Imagine that, Sunday to Sunday. That is 8th days, my friend. Resurrection, rebirth, or infinite possibilities. That one number carries all those meaning. All right. So see you in the next one. Love you guys. Peace and love. Blessings. Over and out.